Ethan, for some reason, feels the need to, what is that called? What's your drink called? Bring that back into
Got
camera.
some sparkling water. This is Ollie's version. My face here.
If they want to sponsor.
Yeah. Aldi. Oh my gosh, I would love to.
An Aldi sponsor. No, but for some reason, he's like, it's just nice to have like
Listen,
a nice sparkling drink. Just drink water like a man. Just have a little water. He's like, I need my lime water.
Listen, we don't keep Pop in the house. I don't drink alcohol. So what does that leave me with?
Me either. All I drink is water.
Is water. Well, I'm just more exciting than you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mark Rodney Show. My name is Ethan, and I have Brody here, not so special guest.
In other words, we don't have a special guest today.
Attacking another pod like we do here on the Mark Rodney Show.
That's right.
Today we are talking about a fun production that we did called Roger.
Roger, yes. So what happened was Ethan and I we had just started Mark Rodney Productions, and I was like, I want to do another film project. I want to do something to get my creative juices going. Like, we've been doing a lot of client work, or at least scheduling a lot of client work, and I was like, I want to do film. And so I presented him with two ideas. I was like, these are the things that have been rattling in my brain. These are the two things I want to make. We can either do Roger, which stemmed from the fact that one of my professors at Huntington, where I went to school, which I say every podcast somehow. So hopefully you know that at this point. But one of my professors looked exactly like Roger from 101 Dalmatians. Yeah. And so I thought it'd be really funny if we made a little movie trailer about making fun of how Disney makes a movie out of every single character that they own.
Yeah,
like
they
milk their IP,
yeah.
Whatever. I'd do it too if I had IP.
Yikes.
But I don't. So they made Cruella, and I was like, what if they made a movie about Roger? Like, no one remembers Roger.
Probably the most forgettable character of the whole series.
So bland, just like some plain white dude with blonde hair with no noticeable characteristics, right?
And to be clear, you're talking about Roger from the animated 101 Dalmatians.
From the animated 61-ish film, 101 Dalmatians. So I was like, we could either do that, or we could make Dumb Cops 2.
That's literally the two options that he posed to me. And so I was like, well, in the moment, we're coming off of Dumb Cops 2 not that long ago.
Of the original
one
Dumb
of the more,
Cops.
yes,
not that long ago. Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't that long ago. And I'm like, that one still feels a little fresh. I'm not sure if I'm ready to revisit that. I don't have quite the nostalgia built up for it yet.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, if those are my two options, let's do the 101 Dalmatians thing. Sure,
and then we were like,
your idea.
It can't be that hard to find Dalmatians.
Yeah. Two rules that it's a common thing out there.
In film.
Don't
work with children.
And don't work with animals.
Right. And we were like, no, I don't care about those rules. You're silly. Those rules don't apply to me.
That's the weirdest way you could have said that, but sure.
No. But I was like, no, there's got to be breeders out there. There's got to be plenty of Dalmatians.
Yeah. We'll just find a Dalmatian, right? The idea is we wanted to tell the backstory.
How did Roger and Pongo meet?
Meeting Pongo, yeah.
Right. And so we were like, he'll find him as a puppy. And like, we know that the only thing we really know about Roger is that he's a musician and he loves Pongo.
Yep.
Loves dogs.
Yep.
So like, let's combine those two things to the central part of the story. We started building that out together. What does that look like? He finds Pongo as a puppy, as an abandoned puppy, while Roger is down on his luck as a failed musician.
Yep.
Like man's
so
best
it's really
friend story.
A prequel to 101 Dalmatians
is the idea.
So pre-Anita, Perdita, right?
Yes. I think Perdita is her name.
Listeners, brush up on your 101
Purdy and Anita.
Dalmatian knowledge.
Yes. So, which we went back. It was fun. Yep. It's fun to go back to, like, we both, I think, grew up on 101 Dalmatians.
It's
a classic old Disney film. I at least grew up on it. And I loved it as a kid. I was obsessed specifically with the scene where they become Labradors. They roll around in the soot and they disguise themselves as Labradors. And I thought that was like so cool as a kid. I was like, that's awesome. It's like my first taste of what made Mission Impossible so cool when I grew up.
All stems back to 101 Dalmatians.
Yes, the disguises and like pretending, And so it was fun to go back. We watched old like 101 Dalmatians clips and went back and looked at the design of like, what does Roger wear and what does he like, what does the environment look like? And he was not just a piano player. He liked all these instruments. And so like we thought, when we do our design, let's put a trumpet in the background and a bass and like all these
really
things.
Double down on that musician, like really just using everything we know about the character, which, like you said, we know he's a musician.
He smokes,
he
which
has
we do
a
not
dog.
endorse, by the way.
Yeah, he smokes a pipe.
Which the pipe in the project, just to be specific about it, was an herbal blend. It's not tobacco.
Yeah.
It wasn't
it's real smoke,
like,
but it's an herbal blend.
Yeah, but it's like an herbal blend. So we used a real pipe, but we used like non-tobacco, not the least harmful thing we could quickly research and get in time for the filming. So, but yes, we're like, he smokes, gotta have the pipe, gotta have
the music,
gotta have the Dalmatian, and that's all we had.
Right.
Sure,
sounds great. We write a little script for it, 10-page something. I feel like that's usually our short form, material or length.
We wrote a little breakdown of like, what is this trailer going to look like? Because we're writing a trailer, which is different.
Yeah,
we had done Exonerate before, which I kind of did.
Which that was
solo.
Yeah, you had Elliot come in and help you.
And I'm sure I ran ideas by you and stuff at the time, but like I had Elliot come in, who we should have on the podcast sometime.
Sure,
that would be a good guest.
Elliot, if you're interested in joining the podcast, come on.
We'd love to have you on. But I did that with him, but that was the only other time I'd done one, and that was really loose. Like it was just, let's get some cool shots. It was an excuse to go out and
you played detective.
Yeah, I played a detective, and I got to I was like, what connections do I have to make this trailer as cool as possible? Let's fake a jail. Let's get like a prison jumpsuit. Let's do all that stuff.
But that was your only experience with shooting
with the trailer. So it was like, we have to write one. And we did a little practice run where I have a dog, or my family has a dog. And so I did a little, on my phone, I did like a rough draft of the trailer just to see if what we had written was actually going to play like a trailer. As we were talking about vibes, we were thinking
about music, and a big inspiration for us was La La Land. There were even some visuals in there that I really was pulling from that movie. Yep. So what Brody ended up doing one night is he took the music that we had talked about up to a certain point and filmed little clips on his iPhone like he's talking about and made the trailer as we were talking about it. Basically, that's our previs.
In its most basic form. And that was our previs.
It was rough.
It was super rough. But that was our previs, and I was like, this gives me the faith to know that our script is going to work.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. It feels right. It feels like a trailer. I think this is going to make sense. And so we started doing pre-production on it. Yeah. We started getting the team together, and we needed a Roger and we needed Dalmatians, and we couldn't find either for a while.
Yeah.
If you remember, finding Roger was a struggle too, because originally we wanted my professor to play him because that was...
And we asked him.
Yeah, that was how the whole joke started, was and he was maybe I want to help, I want to be there. He was
open-minded.
He was open-minded. He's a professor with a family, with young kids. His time is completely taken up. I don't blame him at all. But he was going to end up... It worked out because he was going to end up having maybe an evening or something to do this. And we're
shoot 10 pages.
Insanely overly ambitious. We're like, we'll just get all the stuff with him done first, then all the other stuff. And it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. So we ended up contacting Andrew Bauer, who I knew from college. He is a professional actor. That's what he does. He mostly does theater. He travels to different places, does different theater. He joins different theater productions, and he's a working actor. That's what he does for a living.
Does it a lot. In fact, he had live shows on the days that we were filming for at least one of our shoot days.
One of our shoot days, he had to either that day he had a show before he came, or he was going to a show afterwards. And so we absolute trooper. So we got him.
We found a Roger.
Yep.
The next big part of this, as you can probably imagine, is finding Pongo, which has to be a Dalmatian. That's the whole thing.
That's it. Pongo is a it's a 101 Dalmatians
Without
parody,
that specific dog, this idea is dead in the water.
It all falls apart. And it turns out it is way harder to find Dalmatians than it ever should be. It was insane. I tell you, it made me feel like there were maybe 10 Dalmatians in the country. Looking for them, it really made me feel that way.
What are some of the methods we tried? We tried, obviously, just our own network. Does anyone have a Dalmatian?
Does anyone have a Dalmatian?
We
had some loose connections, I remember, that were almost yeses. Yeah. Maybe she's not, particular one I remember being she was a COVID dog. They got her during COVID, and so she didn't get a lot of people socialization, and so she was very skittish and nervous, and it might not work.
And Dalmatians aren't the most docile breed for something that we learned.
They're not a classic family-friendly breed.
It's not like a lab.
Yeah, no, they're not just we love people. They're more.
They can be vicious.
They can be a little more difficult to train and difficult to work with if you don't raise them right, or they're not in the proper environments. And we tried that. We tried some friends, and we just tried to look online. And eventually...
before you get there,
Yeah.
one of my strategies is always going to Facebook.
Facebook groups.
So what did I do? I joined every Dalmatian owner, Facebook group that I could find online.
Yep.
And was just asking a bold question: would anyone be willing to come out to Fort Wayne, Huntington, Indiana, to film, which is where we're going to shoot because of a few resources and just extra hands on set. A lot of your film friends
helped out on campus.
The school actually has a house called Himes House. It's just a
film house. It's specifically just for filming. People paint the wall. You can move
do
things
whatever
around.
you want. It's a set. It's a set that we would have full control over. So we were going to film it there. Was what we ended up deciding. Which we got to stop filming out there, man. It's such a far drive. For me.
It's a really far drive for him. It's not that close for me.
Yeah.
We have a lot of resources there, so we've used it a lot in the past.
Yeah.
Yes. As
Thankfully, everyone's moved away from.
As I move further from graduation, it becomes less of like, all right, at what point am I going to move past?
But it was nice to have.
It was nice.
For sure.
Yeah, it was very nice.
So, so I was just asking people if they would come out and do this, and wasn't getting a lot of leads or responses. So finally, Brody finds.
I found someone online.
Go ahead.
Yep. And we talked back and forth. He was planning on letting us use like the puppies and an adult Dalmatian, and I was like, we got it all.
That was the other thing. I'm gonna double click on that real quick. Brody's like, yeah, sure, we need a Dalmatian for this. I was like, yeah, sounds great. He's like, but not just one Dalmatian. We need, you realize we have to have a puppy Pongo and an adult Pongo. I said, are you out of your mind? I was like,
not only was I going to be
it's tough enough to find a Dalmatian.
It's also tough enough to work with animals. Yeah. I wanted to work with an untrained puppy.
Yes.
And an adult.
Dog.
An adult dog, you might find a dog, if you're lucky, that is trained and can sit on command, come on command, do like the things you're supposed to do as a dog, basics.
But I think your source, we were going to have access to one or two puppies. It wasn't, I don't think, unless I guess we took
I think we were just, in our mind, we were just like, we're going to have the mom and a puppy or a puppy or two or something.
Right.
In fact, I don't even think we thought ahead to have a double for the puppy. I think we were just going to take a puppy and the mom.
Yeah.
And he was just pretty chill with it, but he wasn't a great contact. Like communication was okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great. And the day comes around to shoot. It's November, by the way. We're going to shoot Roger. We have Andrew Bauer. We've gotten Kevin Gorman on board, who should also be a guest on the podcast sometime. Kevin's a good friend of mine. We went to school together. And he's
crushed it with lighting.
Yeah,
this
he
whole
did.
Project
He was our gaffer,
and color grading.
And then he color graded the final project as well. And he's just one of those helpful guys.
Right.
So like when we were like painting Himes House and like doing the production design and putting up the wallpaper, he was there. Like he's there to help. Like I was just appreciated him.
Good friend
all the way through. Good friend and a hard worker. So he was working on it with us. We had Andrew Bauer, like I said, and then we had a bunch of other random like HU college friends of mine at different times helping out. John Young
was
who was
my AC.
on Wingmen. You guys know John now from the podcast and from that. So like he was the AC. He was helping out. Another good friend who's just kind of there to help anytime we need him. So we had our crew together. We had done our pre-production. Himes House was ready, and we shot. We were going to do this in 2 days.
Right.
We shot all the stuff at Himes House with Andrew Bauer that evening that we got there. Then we spent the night at my former roommate from college, Zachariah Lales'
his new apartment.
We stayed there, and Ethan and I got up at about 5 a.m.
Something like that, yeah.
Maybe even earlier.
Yeah.
To go pick up the puppies for day 2 of shooting.
Because this location was out in the middle of nowhere, probably about an hour and a half from...
Pretty far from where we were at. So we were going to have to get all the way out there, get the dogs, and come all the way back.
Right.
And
make it by call time.
And I made some huge producing mistakes, essentially. Big learning experience for us, but didn't have the address. We didn't know where we were going.
In your head, you were justifying it in the sense that, like, I could communicate. You had his phone number.
Yeah, I thought I could just communicate.
Just like,
but
hey,
it was not
the
that
day before
simple.
He was not responding.
Right.
He
became unresponsive leading up to the day, and I had not gotten the address. And you asked me a couple times, like, I don't have it yet. I'll call him in the morning, or I'll text him in the morning.
We got to figure it out.
We start driving there. I'm like, surely as we head, we knew the city, like we knew the general vicinity, so we were heading that way. We weren't hearing from him. And it was a disaster. We ended up driving around the city looking for these puppies like Jasper and Horace.
Yeah, that was a comparison we made. We're making this, funny sketch about Roger or whatever. I was like, bro, do you realize right now we are Horace and Jasper
around like hunting
super
down these
early.
dogs.
We're super tired. We have a big day ahead of us. Just trying to find these Dalmatians.
We started knocking on doors. Like we were just like, do you know this guy?
Yeah.
Do you know where these puppies are? And like no one knew. And eventually we had to face facts.
It was rough. This is one of those experiences that I'll probably take with me for the rest of my life.
We will remember this forever. But it was a tough one. And we looked at each other. We just had this like moment of realization of like, we always talk about making the best of when we're out here.
Count.
Yeah, making it count. We're out here. We have people. We have gear. What do?
Yeah.
We don't have our dogs for a 101 Dalmatians offshoot.
We have a crew that has a schedule and locations and everything ready waiting for us when we get back to Huntington.
What are we going to tell them? And we were just like, you know what? I just got to be honest with them, tell them what happened. It's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's going to suck.
Yep.
But we stood in front of them. We got back and we said, we don't have the Dalmatians. We ran into some problems. We apologize. We do have some stuff we can still shoot.
Yeah.
This is the plan. And we had a plan. Everybody was like, okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, people took it really well.
They took it really well.
And we just shot what we could. There was more to shoot without the puppies, so we just did all of that stuff the next day. It took a lot of the day. Yeah. Like, it still was like a full day. I think we were a little...
Probably took a little bit more time on some of those things. Like
than we would have,
If you watch the sketch, which, by the way, this is coming out after the project has dropped, and it's on the Mark Rodney Entertainment channel, just like all of our future
you can go check
narrative
it out
projects will be. So go check it out. But the shots where it's kind of like he's in a black abyss and
playing the piano. There's red lights and blue lights.
Yeah, which was just something fun. I had a vision for that. I wanted to execute on that day. We filmed that stuff that day because we didn't need the dog for that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I was grateful as the DP to like take more time on some of those more creative shots.
Yeah.
Freed up in a sense some of that stuff, but. Before we get too much further, we kind of skipped over the preparation we've had to do for Haim's house.
Yeah, that's true. So we wanted Haim's house. We wanted to be able to use it. We thought it's a great little location. It looks right. It honestly, without doing too much to it, already kind of reminded us of that old school look that you see
Could
in
be like a
101
London
Dalmatians.
flat or something.
A London flat, yeah.
Yeah.
So we started thinking about designing it. We bought some wallpaper to put on a wall.
They were really doing us a favor letting us shoot there because like you weren't technically a student at that point, right?
No, I was graduated.
Yeah, and I never went there, so yeah. They were helping us out for sure.
Yeah, they were being kind.
But the state of the house, I want you to talk about.
So I was the last person to use this house at Huntington. Like my senior thesis film shot there, and I had painted. Well, I didn't personally, but my team had painted the house pink. All the walls were pink.
What a great idea.
Everything was pink for Love Dunce, which was my senior thesis film. And so then it was like my comeuppance coming back to film there and realizing we're going to have to paint all of these walls.
Like, yeah, Ethan, we got permission, but the main living space room is
completely
bright
pink. Yeah, like Barbie pink.
Awesome.
Not like a... in
my head, I hear cha-ching. Like, how much is this going to cost us?
How much is it going to cost us to paint the entirety of Haim's house? So we did. We got some paint. Fortunately,
Correction, you did.
Yes. I got some paint.
He went there the day before. I probably had something going on. Otherwise,
I had some help. John and Kevin and I all shared duties, and we painted the entire living space gray.
Yeah. He's sending me Snapchat videos.
And I got paint from my dad. Let me use some old paint from the school.
So the paint was free.
The paint was free. Yeah, thank you to my father
and to Temple Christian School.
School who let us use their old paint.
We didn't need tons, and we just needed like a base.
Yeah, like a basic color. Like it's literally the color of like the walls you see here.
Yeah,
pretty
it's like
much.
gray
a grayish, tannish, grayish. Yeah, and so we spent hours, man. I went down early, and I started painting the walls.
Got like a coat on, right?
Yep, got a full coat on.
Did most of the edges, but then the next day when I came, this is all before shooting, right?
We finished it up.
You guys finished it up painting, and then I think I helped a little bit finish at the end.
Some trim and like helping out, like finish things up.
Then we had this wallpaper as well, which if you watch the thing, there's this kind of interesting green and gold wallpaper that we just found on Amazon. We're trying to dress this up a little bit. We're tired of our stuff looking like mediocre. Like, how do we spice this up? And for, not too expensive. We can buy these rolls of, stick-on wallpaper.
Yeah, it's easy. It's peel and stick.
Sticker. Yeah, exactly. And so we go in there, we know how much we have and how much room we can cover, and we decide on this one wall behind the piano. And I think we got our use out of it for sure.
Every time I watch it now, and it's probably just because we did that intentionally, we took all that time made. But I'm always like, that wallpaper looks so good.
It's so cool.
I really like what it did to the space. So I was very like, it was a trick that I think we'll keep in mind in the future when we're doing production design stuff for projects. Is just like a little bit of wallpaper goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
An accent wall.
Yeah,
we learned the value of an accent wall. So we did that as well. We put the wallpaper up. Kind of Ethan helped me move furniture around, and Kevin and everybody. So we got like the piano where we wanted it, and we like rearranged the whole living room to be how we wanted it to look. And it was ready to go.
Yep.
It was ready to film.
Josiah came to run audio for the day, and he was helping out a little bit for set deck as well. So I just wanted to click on that first before we got too much further. So all that happened right before our first day of shooting.
Yep.
And then the dogs happened.
Yeah, and then the whole thing happened. We made the best of that day, like you said. We
Second day of production.
We filmed the stuff in the Black Abyss, and then we went and filmed the stuff at that small bar in downtown Huntington.
That's right, yeah.
That was very nice and let us have full access to the whole place. Very sweet lady. Can't remember her name, but she was very sweet.
Yeah.
It's not coming to me. I'm like, it's on the tip of my tongue. But she let us in and was very accommodating and had worked with Huntington before. And so when I had that association, she was like, oh, I love Lance Clark and I love Huntington.
Yeah,
and
not the first time on a film project that she did open up her facilities.
Correct.
But so we walked away. Great. I think we got as much as we could have that day without it, but the project was not done.
But
we still had no Dalmatians in this project.
The project is not done. And you got to keep in mind.
It was November at this point?
It was November, early November. So you got to keep in mind, too, that at this juncture, when we made this, the people who were helping us were 99% volunteers.
Yeah.
I think we didn't pay all these crew members to
we covered
be there
gas for
and help
Andrew,
us.
Our main talent.
We helped out with Andrew. We paid Andrew a little bit because he's a professional working actor.
Yeah.
So we paid him. But
everyone else was students.
Everybody else was just pretty much students helping us out. So in other words, it's not easy to get a bunch of people to show up again
because they're volunteers
to volunteer
as friends,
to help us as friends to finish a project when we messed up. Right? It was our fault. We screwed it up, and then now we have another shoot day, and so it got put off. For a while. I don't know if we got busy, what happened, but
we had some client work going on during that time,
and we didn't circle back around to finishing Roger, which Roger could have fallen into.
It could have never seen the light of day.
Yeah, it could have just been gone, never seen the light of day.
Yeah.
A failed project. We've had those before.
I think most people probably thought that's what was going to happen.
And I think people had accepted that as what we got is what we got. That's it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to give up on it.
Right.
I had this nagging persistence in me to be I'm not quitting on this. This is our first kind of project we were doing. With our new Mark Rodney Productions banner, now Mark Rodney Entertainment for all of our film stuff. I was just, I don't know, I was like, we got to finish it.
Yep.
I don't want to let the normalcy of just it didn't work out to get us. I was like, let's push past it. There's no reason not to finish it. We weren't sure if we were going to get Heim's house again.
Yeah.
They had other films filming there.
Which is a problem because, we've already established that house.
We're like, where can we go and can we pick a different room to put everything else in? Maybe just we can figure something out. I was like, is Andrew going to be available?
We looked at Airbnbs. We asked friends.
Yep. We found out that Andrew was going to be available. We're like, well, we have Roger, right? Yeah. He was in. Andrew was, thank you, Andrew. Another good opportunity for a guest on the podcast at some point. But Andrew was all in for us. He was definitely doing us a favor, and he was definitely wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
And was a champion of, and not only a champion of that, he was trying to help us find Dalmatians.
Right.
He was trying.
I was like, this is great. Yeah, I'm down to finish this project as well. Even if it costs a little bit more money. However, we still need Dalmatians.
Still need dogs.
This is the problem.
And so we started looking again. Ethan did his thing like he always does, right? He went to Facebook.
I had a couple lines in the water, as it were.
Yep. I was asking friends. He was asking friends. That was another tentative yes we got that wasn't able to was Andrew's friend who had a Dalmatian. That didn't work out.
But then one day I connected with somebody on Facebook, and this is really what saved this production, I think. And it was the owner of Hot Mess
Pooches.
Yes, which is a Dalmatian-specific dog rescue.
They have other animals.
They have other animals and other types of dogs.
But their favorite or their like leading animal is the
they're
Dalmatian.
They're known for
Dalmatians. Yep.
Dalmatians.
And they're a rescue,
They're
right?
a rescue,
and they do great work. Just a little plug
lot
for
of
them.
dogs with
They do great
disabilities too, like deaf dogs, blind dogs, stuff like that
yeah.
too. So it was like just really tugs at your heartstrings.
Great organization. We were like, and they were so down to help us.
She heard what we were doing and was immediately in and so willing. So if you're ever watching this, I very much appreciate it. And I don't think you know what you did to save our production.
How helpful she
so
was
thank
to
you.
us.
Really great connection. I only regret that this has not come out sooner so she could see the fruits of the labor that they did.
Right.
They came out that day, brought this nice Sprinter van, with their dogs, brought several
dogs,
several
multiple
dogs.
puppies, an adult. We had a little dog play center going at all times in the Himes house.
The puppy seemed overwhelmed. We could kind of swap them out. This is all kind of things like we were new to this and working with live animals. We had not thought about this.
And we didn't the first time around we didn't have anyone to be like a handler for the dog.
Yeah.
We would have just been trying to do it ourselves.
Her and her friend or her partner stayed there all day and helped handle the dogs and keep an eye on them. If they're in the car, stay with the dogs. They took care of them, right?
And were the ones who trained them or knew what they could get them to do. They would have treats. She just came out as if she had professionally done this on a film set before. Truly, it felt like that's what she had. And I don't think she had. She had worked on other things.
She's
before.
worked on other things.
Yeah, but she was just so pro at it. It felt like,
and I
so was her
we couldn't
assistant.
really pay much. So I think we again covered gas just because they came from I think 4 hours or something.
She was willing to do it. It was so kind. So yeah, it definitely saved us. And I just want to preface that by the time we got back to doing it and getting it back on the schedule, because we found Hot Mess Pooches, Andrew was in, and then we got. Kevin eventually agreed to help us again too, despite he was finishing up his senior year of college. Very busy time for him.
Sorry, man.
Sorry. Still came out for us. And this was February.
Yeah.
So
From
not
November
a lot of
to
productions that are that small fail to finish the project in November and then come back and have a successful reschedule several months later. So
we did it.
We did
came
it.
back in. We had to re-wallpaper the house because somebody else was. That was the other thing. Himes' house was being flipped
different.
for other student projects that were coming in. So it was now or never.
Because it took us so long.
We got in under the deadline. They had ripped down our wallpaper though, even though the walls were the same color, so we didn't have to repaint again. But we did have to re-wallpaper that one little section we did. Thankfully, we just did an accent wall there, but. Man, oh man, was that something? And then
it was an absolute challenge to get that back on
some new
its
people
feet.
come out and help us. That was, I think, the first time Benji came out and helped us.
Yeah,
on
Benji
a
came
project.
out and helped, and his at the time was it his girlfriend or
His
fiance?
fiance at the time.
Now it's his wife. Yep.
Anjali came out as well.
Anjali came out, your wife. So we had a lot of. It felt a lot better this time around.
Yeah.
Let's say that we had a much more positive experience in February.
Got some great stuff too. The dog
the dogs
eating
were so fun.
The dog food and cereal shot.
By the way,
one of my favorites.
The Hot Mess Pooches dogs, sweetest, most fun, loving dogs. We talked about Dalmatians having potentially bad temperaments. That is a risk, but because of the environment that those dogs had been in at that rescue, they were all so positive.
Yeah.
The adult Dalmatian was just the nicest dog.
Cooper, I think is
Cooper. He was just so nice. And you'll see it in the trailer. The film we got of him licking Andrew, that just happened.
Yeah.
We didn't train the
Bro's
dog.
Roll camera.
I know.
Okay.
That was our whole mindset all day. It was me just being Ethan, are you getting this?
Yeah.
Because we knew the dogs were going to do cute stuff. If we just kept the cameras rolling, we'd capture some of it.
But they're not professionally trained.
They're not professionally. They're not movie dogs
yet.
At least not yet. I feel like she could do that if she wanted to.
Yeah.
She's good at training them. But we got him to sit up on the chair and eat food off the table and pull Andrew ahead, walk. All those things you just take for granted in your mind. All those things had to be set up and planned and try to get it on camera.
Right.
Even the joke at the end where the dog is pooping on the carpet just happened. And I said, are you getting this?
Yeah.
I was like, roll.
Yeah.
And then I had Andrew do a reaction to it and stuff so we could put that together. But, so yeah, the dogs were great. I remember having a ton of fun. I just remember being happy.
Yeah.
Dogs they're a challenge, But if you have someone who cares about them and they're good dogs, they bring a lot of joy to the set as well. Yeah. And I think that's why we had so many more people come out.
Yep.
Once they knew we were going to have a bunch of dogs on set. And like I said, we had like a play center for dogs just in the room right next to us were all the other puppies.
And we had several puppies, so it was like people need to hold them to keep them warm.
Yeah,
and
they can hold puppies, they can pet puppies, they can hang out with them.
Shooting.
They had treats you could feed the dogs. And so it was just a good environment. We had a lot of fun. Everybody made that day awesome.
Which, by the way, on Hot Mess Pooches, I want to add this real quick. We'll have the link down in the description or the show notes.
Yes.
If you're interested in checking out, if you know someone who has a bad situation with, any kind of dog, but Dalmatian specifically, this would be a good resource to send them. Or
if you're interested in adopting a dog.
Interested in adopting a dog or donating. If this is something, I think they're a 501c3. That means they're a nonprofit, and so they're completely run off a donation. So anything that
if you can help them, do it.
Willing to give, that would mean the world to them. I know for sure. So I want to give them a
I can't talk highly enough about them, as in like everything that we had, our experience with them was positive. There wasn't one negative
and I've seen
thing.
them, like I was still in the Facebook groups after that, and I saw people raving about the work that they've done for that, like testimonials basically, whether it's rescuing from a situation or like adopting a dog from there. So it just felt really good to be able to partner with someone like that.
Yeah, it was great. It's like
this project.
I mean, anytime you can work with really great, awesome people, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to adopt a dog or you have any of those situations we talked about, Hot Mess Pooches.
Yep. Let's talk about post-production a little bit to kind of wrap this up.
So yeah, we did that, and then every step of the way, man, we ran into some sort of challenge, and or at least something I wasn't willing to compromise on. So which is tough sometimes. Is like sometimes you have to compromise, but other times it's knowing where not to compromise to see the. And that's always a tough decision. Like you said, like there are times where it's like we talk to each other and we're like, the smart thing to do is compromise. In fact, sometimes compromises make it better. Yeah. Like there are things where it's like once you let that go, the production's better. But we both, I think, knew that the only way to make this trailer hit the way we wanted it to was to have the music be original 101 Dalmatians inspired. Yeah. I wanted to do an orchestral like piece that mirrored a movie score that mirrored 101 Dalmatians' score from the end of the film, Dalmatian Plantation. Yeah, specific song. That song. And I could hear it in my head, and I knew I like dun dun dun. But you don't really have any like other than like band. You don't really have like instrument background. Like I played an instrument in band with my friends and haven't played one since. Right. I tinker on the piano from time to time. Never practiced, by the way. Didn't practice. You were that kid. I was that kid in band. No, you're probably more normal. I was the weird kid that I goofed took private lessons and practiced. Which I think is fantastic, by the way. I do. I love music, but I just, I played the trombone, if anybody's wondering. And nobody likes to hear a solo trombone playing, just in case you were wondering. If you were good. Up next on the podcast, let me know if you want to hear Brody do a trombone solo. Bring my trombone back out. That'll be our next cold open, is me trying to play my old trombone. That would be awesome. Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue on with the scoring conversation. So we wanted to find, the trick was, though, finding someone who could do that. Right. That's one of our like things we have the least amount of connections in. Yeah. Is that. And we had worked with somebody on Wingmen who did a little bit of scoring for us for Wingmen as well. He did some of the music. He did a fantastic job. Fixed up the audio. Fixed up the audio. Right? Yep. He did all of it. His name's Niall Popchak. I think I'm getting that name right. Niall is definitely right. And he, but he's a pro, man, and he's got professional rates. And so for Wingmen, we had a budget set aside. Yeah. It just made more sense to continue on with that high quality nature of what we were doing. Roger fell a lot more into budget filmmaking for us. More of a sketch, more of a creative concept. Yeah, it was kind of something we wanted to explore that was for fun, and it's more comedic in nature in a lot of ways. And we're not going to make the Roger movie unless Disney. Up, Disney? My line. But yeah, if Disney wants to make Roger, hit us up. But to us, it was just a funny concept, right? So we didn't have the budget for it. We didn't have the budget for Niall. Niall's a pro. He does a great job, but we didn't have the budget for him. So we started looking around. Who's going to help us out again? Once again, this is what causes delays often is we don't have the connections, or we don't have the money to pay for the thing, or we don't. And so things get delayed. And finally, once again, Andrew Bauer came in the clutch for us, and he knew a guy, Drew, who could help us with the score. So then Drew and I teamed up, and I started meeting with him, and we had multiple meetings, and he would send me what he was scoring, and we'd sit down together, and we'd be watching the trailer, and we'd be pacing it out, and we finally landed on something. Then Ethan and I, we tightened up the trailer.
Yeah. It was kind of like he had to take a step, and then we took a step, and then it was back and forth there for a little bit.
It had to be this back and forth kind of nature, because if we changed something, the timing would change in the music, and he'd have to go back in and change it. But finally, we got the score done after weeks and weeks and months, and we're doing other things. It's not the only thing. Yeah, and we're doing other things, obviously. So we finally got that accomplished, and then we got the trailer. We had the trailer and the music, and I was like, it's still not there yet.
Yeah.
We were like, it needs some more like sound design, it needs some more stuff, and I was like, it needs a voiceover. Mm-hmm. So then we reached back out to Andrew Bauer.
Andrew came in again. Yep.
He came in. Well, he didn't come in, but he helped us out again, and he recorded his voiceover from home, and sent it to me, and then that really filled it out. And the final step was color. We just needed it color graded.
Which, as we mentioned, Kevin Gorman was our
So Kevin Gorman colored it for us.
Did a great job, by the way, lighting the scene. I was like,
amazing.
It was some of my favorite footage I've ever shot in the narrative space.
And he was on a huge time crunch.
Great lighting. And him and I were both like having fun using the aperture system. We had a 1200D that was a new light that was out at the time, and using some RGB light panels and stuff, and just really having a heyday with that. Which he crushed it on that. And so he was like, during the production, he was like, hey, do you mind if I take a stab at coloring this thing? And we're like, you know what?
Great.
Sure.
Yeah. So we sent it to him basically a year after we shot it, almost. And he was like, yeah, I'll get it color graded. And so he finally finalized that, and we got the as of the time we're shooting this podcast, not when it's released, so a month or so ago, a little more. We finally got the final export.
Yeah.
And Roger,
which Kevin didn't take long on the color, by the way. That was not. He was pretty quick, actually.
He did the color grading super snappy. It took us forever to get him the footage and to get everything sorted out that way. So,
but yeah, it's done. It's now posted on the Entertainment channel. So if you have not seen it yet, go check that out. That'll also be linked in the description in the show notes.
I'll say this project it had so much more story and so much more behind the scenes stuff than you would normally have with a project.
So we had to share it on the podcast. Yes. What's the fun of having a podcast if you can't share stories?
If I can't do that. Yeah, exactly. So go check it out. Please go watch Roger. Share it on all of your social media platforms and tag Disney.
Yeah, everyone tag Disney. Let's see if we can get this thing made.
If we can get them.
Although they probably just go around us, right? It's their intellectual property.
It's their property. Of course they would go around us. But it would still be fun if Disney was like, this is cool, you know?
Yeah, what if you guys have a vision for this?
They comment on it or something, you know? That'd be so fun. So,
but it's not actually a Disney Plus thing. So like we just did a little parody of all their Disney Plus series. So that's what that is. It's not a real Disney Plus thing if you were confused by that.
It is a parody.
We're putting it into existence out there. So.
Yeah, we're throwing it out into the world.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.